Ramona Jan, punk rock producer and engineer and punk rocker. What's up? Welcome to the Dennis Ball Show.
Hi, Dennis.
I got the book Hit Girls, which you recommended, which I'll put a link, ballers, in the description. It's a great book about women in punk rock, and you're in there.
Yes, I'm in there as the lead singer of Dizzy and Romalars, the producer of Nasty Facts. The Waitresses, Chris Butler, produced Dizzy and the Romalars EP.
And you were also in a band called Venus Flytrap.
Yes.
And you were Fly, and the other two women were Venus and Trap. Why were you Fly?
Why was I Fly?
Yeah.
Sort of was divvied up real quick. Susie Tyrell was obviously Venus. Nobody could argue with that. And
Right.
then Lisa Lowell. Both of them, by the way, are on tour with Springsteen now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's not great. And she claimed Trap. Thank God, because I didn't want to be Trap.
Right.
I was glad to be Fly, because in a way I am Fly.
Yeah. Was that your favorite band to be in?
All of them were favorites for different reasons. Venus Flytrap was a favorite of mine because I was singing with two of the best singers in New York City, without a doubt. And I learned a lot about singing from them. For Coma Teens, that was my first band, and I was very innocent in a lot of ways about being in a band. So those are some of my best memories because of the innocence surrounding being in a band. You just, let's just make a band and then play at CBGB's and make a record and sell it at Bleecker Bob's. You know, that's how we were just going through life.
The Coma Teens played a show at Hurrah, and then you came off stage and you went to the DJ booth with the record. What happened then?
I had just gotten off stage and the DJ knew me and I wanted to bring him my single, and he was like, okay, this is really cool, I'll play it for sure. And he goes, David Bowie's here. And I'm like, you're really where? He said, right behind you. And I turned around and Bowie reached out and pulled me toward him. And I'm not kidding you, he just sort of bent me backwards, Gone with the Wind style, and kissed me passionately.
Gosh.
Well, I figured it was because, what a great performer I was, right? I just gotten off stage.
Right.
But then he started to talk about, was that a record of mine or whatever? Did I play in a band? And then I was really pissed off because, of course, I played in a band. I was just on stage. After that kiss, we broke up. Yeah, I didn't like the attitude. That was my whole Bowie thing.
That wasn't the only time that somebody got handsy with you in the music business. I think that it's hard to probably be a woman at that time, right? There were no engineers that were women.
I was one of a handful in the world of female engineers. We had bullying and sexual harassment pretty much on a daily basis in the 70s. It wasn't easy. It was a stress. I look back on it now and I think, well, those things wouldn't be allowed anymore. But that was just the way it was.
In this climate, how did you get a job at a recording studio?
That was easy. I was actually recording there, and I realized I could probably get free recording time unlimited if I worked there. And the only job open at the time was the apprenticeship program, which started in the shipping department, and then one moved up and was trained as an engineer. I accepted that job. And the reason those jobs were open back then was because the owners of the studio and the people who ran the studio all came from high-profile, affluent families. And they all went to schools like Princeton and Harvard. They were like, oh my God, thank goodness somebody walked in and wants a job here, because we don't know how to reach out to anyone. I mean, these were people who never rode the subway.
All right, the two guys who own the studio were working on another project at the time that you started at the studio. So they were kind of busy. What were they doing?
That's John Roberts and Joel Rosenman. They financed Woodstock.
Right, so they were making sure Woodstock happened.
Yeah, they were partners with Michael Lang. Yeah, it was financed by John Roberts and Joel Rosenman. John Roberts was the heir to the Polydent fortune.
So while that was going on, Woodstock up there, do you remember what the first record you worked on was?
It might have been Lou Reed's Coney Island.
Really? Lou Reed?
Yeah. I was 19 and Godfrey Diamond was producing it. He was 21.
What was Lou Reed like?
He was dating Rachel at the time. Rachel was an early trans person, very tall. So she would come to the studio. And Lou was very to himself, scribbling on a pad, doodling all the time while he was in the studio. Wasn't particularly friendly, but that was okay. Not very many of the stars were friendly anyway, so it wasn't out of the ordinary. Lou was very much to himself. He didn't seem angry or happy, or there was no real emotion that I noticed. I didn't know much about him. I mean, I'm still friends with Godfrey, and Godfrey has since told me that he got the producing gig because he had been hanging out at the factory, Warhol's factory. And he was a young guy, but he looked older, and he grew up in New York, so he's very sophisticated, a very good looking guy, like a Mick Jagger, blonde Mick Jagger. And his name is Godfrey Diamond. God Diamond. I mean, what else, you know?
Right.
And he had met Lou and convinced Lou to come into the studio and make that album.
Like, did you notice anything about how he worked when he was recording? Like, did he just know all the songs and he came in and just banged them out, or was he writing while he was recording them? Or do you remember any of that stuff?
Well,
that's a long time ago,
they rehearsed quite extensively before coming into the studio, which was typical back then because the studio was a lot of money. It was $250 an hour back in the 70s. And this would have been October, the fall of 1975. So I didn't get to see any kind of preparation or anything for the recording. And I wasn't part of the recording of the basic tracks, which are, the drums, the guitar, and all that stuff.
Right.
And they may have even done that at a different studio. It's more involved with the lead vocal part and the mixing. He came in later in another record that I worked on, which was Genya Raven's Urban Desire. She does a duet with him on that record. And the duet is called I, Colorado. Not Colorado the state, but Colorado, the color red. It's a great song. Lou was a very nervous lead singer in recording his lead vocals. So what would typically happen with somebody like that is we would say, okay, we're just going to run it down, but we're not going to record it. But that was a trick. And so usually that became the take, and that was the take in the case of I, Colorado.
Oh, really? So he was a nervous lead singer, so you would record his practice take, and then that would end up actually being the best one.
But we would record it without him knowing it.
And so he did that on his Coney Island record as well? You did that? You tricked him into...
Oh, sure. We did that with him.
Was he, like, drinking tea and stuff before he...
I don't remember. I don't remember any beverages around him, actually.
I'm just curious about, I'm a big Lou Reed fan and Velvet Underground fan.
I didn't know that.
I actually met Laurie Anderson once, and he was in the room, but I was afraid to go up to him and say hi.
For good reason.
Because I didn't want him to yell at me.
Exactly.